It is impossible to have so many kennels for 10 lakh dogs.
For me, my own child is one bite, one too many. You tell me, how do you solve that? Meet Ashar. I'm so happy that one person who from our community has the level of knowledge that you have is with me today.
Thank you, Dhiraj. Very humble of you to say what you said.
But there are people in the middle who have genuine concerns. It's okay, I don't care about the numbers. For me, my own child is one bite, one too many. You tell me, how do you solve that?
Firstly, I think we have to change the way we look at dogs. They are community dogs. They are not stray dogs. Always, I think we need to look at both sides. In 24 years, the animal birth control program has barely been implemented in Delhi. They are also a victim of the failure of the system, a collapsing system. 24 years, we would not have barely even 1 lakh dogs today. In Delhi NCR, we have a whopping 10 lakh dogs, which would not even be 1 lakh.
I'm not going to say that what's happening in Delhi is happening in Mumbai. We are doing a lot better in terms of ABC. I wanted to kind of give a quick content to the audiences to say that we have about good 10 to 12 shelters in Mumbai. When people look up to NGOs, and I want that to happen, but in a very practical and pragmatic way. I don't want the blame shifting to just be at NGO. The kind of help we can provide is going to be in thousands, right? We need help in lakhs. How can we be cohesive in terms of solving this problem?
So I think people should learn to take some responsibility. If an animal has a small scratch which is not bleeding, just one ointment needs to be applied. Basic stuff that needs to be done, which does not require a skill set. Things which do not require hospitalization, extensive medical care, those can be kind of taken care of by people. That way NGOs will be able to focus on the bigger issues that need addressing.
Correct.
Sterilization, vaccination, treatment of injured or sick animals, sending them to the hospital.
Vaccination, sterilization, these are the proper solutions. I think people don't talk about the third solution much, which is community awareness and community outreach, which also includes behavior trainings for the dogs that are aggro. So what's your thought on this part?
As a community, if we don't understand behavior of dogs, we are going to get petrified even with a dog who's barking. We don't understand that, so the dog is aggressive. Cooperative housing societies should take the initiative to call certified canine behaviorists and explain what is dog behavior. A lot of corporates are doing that now, and I really appreciate that move. But the need is for housing societies also to take that initiative.
I'm so happy, so happy that one person who from our community has the level of knowledge that you have is with me today. There is a lot I want to, because I become a seeker when I sit in front of somebody like you. While having a lot of knowledge already, it's important to unpack the ocean of knowledge that you bring along and the perspective you bring along. It's very important for people to hear you more than ever. Let me start by the first question. Meet Ashar is not just PETA. It's not just, there's a lot to it. Why don't you take our audience through your entire journey into the whole animal welfare?
Thank you, Dhiraj, firstly, for having me. And very humble of you to say what you said. I think we all learn from each other every day. And there's so much to do and work together on. What you asked me, my journey goes back about 15 years ago when I started this work. And I started it as a very young boy. Thankfully, I was able to start this at a young age. So that helped me kind of, get a grasp on things sooner than later. And it started with rescuing a dog whose skull was exposed because of a horrible maggot wound. And there were people who were just shooing away that dog, who was just sitting, who was not doing anything to anybody. Yes, he was smelling because of the maggot wound, but he was in pain. And it was terrible to see people just shoo him away. And I did not know much back then. So I did call up a private ambulance after getting a lot of contacts, calling a lot of NGOs. All NGOs have limitations. I think most people, fail to recognize that. We just very quick to blame NGOs. Oh, ambulance did not come. Ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. So I called a private ambulance who came, who took the dog, and the dog recovered after a month of care and was released back. That was how I started off. I think most of us, we start off with dogs, and then our circle of compassion, I would say, sort of extends to other species, other animals also who are deserving of the same compassion that we have for dogs. And then I got involved with a cruelty case at a mere age of 17. I got my first FIR registered against a person who purposely ran over a dog who was sleeping in the corner of the road. And the dog was paralyzed and then unfortunately passed away after a few days. So that was my first ever FIR at the age of 17. And then there was no looking back. Though I was studying chartered accountancy, I quit my chartered accountancy career because I realized that this is not going to give me the job satisfaction that I need. While, it may not pay me as well as a chartered accountancy career would. But I was like, it's fine. I think in life we have to make our choices, and some of them do come with a certain level of compromise. And if it's something which is going to give me the satisfaction when I go to sleep every day, I don't mind that. So that's how it started. And it's been 15 years I've been involved with this work, 9 years that I've been working with PETA India.
So great journey and the amount of impact you've been able to create because of the work that you've done. How we want to get there is just break it down for a person who is slightly on the borderline. When I say borderline, I'm talking about people who are into the cause, who are not to the cause, right? There are people who are far off and also causing the cruelty that we are against.
Correct.
But there are people in the middle who have genuine concerns. There are people in the middle who want to ask that it's okay, I don't care about the numbers. For me, my own child is one bite, one too many. You tell me, how do you solve that? I want to cater to this side of conversation and say, you're right, but the solution that you're vouching for suddenly is not ethical. You're opening up a culture or a system that's going to be cruel eventually. So if you're allowing street dogs to move out, you're allowing, then next will be cats.
Correct.
We all know what we did with Doshala. We all know what's the state of the cow. So why don't you break this thing down a little for all of us?
Firstly, I think we have to change the way we look at dogs. They are community dogs, they are not stray dogs. So I would like to tell people to firstly change their perspective, because they are as much a part of the community, the society, as we are, whether we like it or we don't like it. And it's not they who have chosen to be a part of this society, it has happened to them. They are the unfortunate ones to be born on the streets, to be born on busy roads, where their siblings have been killed in front of them under a car by some act of cruelty because of hunger. So there are so many things. Always, I think we need to look at both sides.
Yeah.
What we are right now doing is we are looking at just one side, and that's uh, a lot of that negative credit goes to the media for sensationalizing this kind of news. Nobody is saying there is not a problem. There is a problem. There is a problem with everything. There is a problem with environment. There is a problem with humans. There is a problem with animals. Of course, life is not perfect. There are problems. There are going to be problems, and they will be evolving and challenging as time goes by. So I think we need to realize that if we have certain things to do as a society, we cannot fail to do that. For instance, in 24 years, the animal birth control program has barely been implemented in Delhi. The animal birth control rules of 2001, which were notified by the central government in the year 2001, have been in force for 24 years now. They were later amended in 2023 and made animal birth control rules 2023. So, if 24 years you have not done anything, how is it that you can pin the blame on the dogs? They are also a victim of the failure of the system, a collapsing system. And I think it's time, not just Supreme Court, but citizens of this country should hold people to account who are in the position of power. Whether it's the municipal commissioner, whether it's the mayor, whether it's the secretary of the urban development department, all these people are jointly responsible for this huge failure of controlling population of community dogs for 3 generations. 24 years, we would not have barely even 1 lakh dogs today. In Delhi NCR, we have a whopping 10 lakh dogs, which would not even be 1 lakh, perhaps some 25,000 if we would have implemented the animal birth control rules. None of us want dogs on the street. I don't think there is any debate about that. There are people who say, oh no, you want dogs on the street. No, we don't. We absolutely don't. Because we know, in fact, feeders, people who are, I call them community animal caregivers, they every day they go back home after feeding with a feeling of anxiousness, whether they will find these animals tomorrow or not. So nobody wants it, really. Truly no.
A lot more with it.
Exactly. Exactly. But shelters, just dumping dogs in shelters is not a solution. It's not only going to cause a, huge imbalance in the nature, in the environment, but it will also open up a huge epidemic of rabies if it's not done the right way. One rabies case in a ABC shelter where this dog is not put in isolation but is just dumped with the other dogs, because that is exactly what will happen. It is impossible to have so many kennels for 10 lakh dogs. You're going to keep dogs in a collective space. If you're going to put one dog which is rabid, you do not put this dog, in isolation. He or she is going to spread it to other dogs, to people who work there, and it's going to be a huge epidemic which you will not be able to control.
Because 10 lakh dogs equates to number of animals, number of humans catered, and the number of resources behind it.
Absolute.
And again, by the time you realize it's rabies, it's already quite late.
Correct. Correct.
So again, this breaking down your NGO point, I kind of totally relate, and obviously we both understand the pain of it. When people look up to NGOs, and I want that to happen, but in a very practical and pragmatic way, I don't want the blame shifting to just be at NGO. So to combining it with what people can do here together. I wanted to kind of give a quick content to the audiences to say that we have about good 10 to 12 shelters in Mumbai. Right. I will touch upon this later on, that I'm not going to say that what's happening in Delhi is happening in Mumbai, because Mumbai is far over better. Of course. Yes, there are improvements that BMC needs to make, but we are doing a lot better in terms of the ABC. We'll get there. But what I'm trying to say is giving you a quantum of the numbers that we can cater to. Yoda in Malad, what PETA does, what other NGOs do, the kind of help we can provide is going to be in thousands.
Correct.
Right? We need help in lakhs.
True.
So how do we do this is through people. So what would you tell people to, how can we just be more, cohesive in terms of solving this problem?
So I think one, people should learn to take some responsibility, because right now the expectation is, even if an animal has a small scratch which is not bleeding, they expect an NGO to come look at that. What we rather suggest people is, you have a vet who you can consult, your local vet, an NGO vet who's willing to tell you what treatment, just one ointment needs to be applied, basic stuff that needs to be done, which does not require a skill set. At least those things can be taken off, the plate of NGOs. That way, NGOs will be able to focus on serious cases and reach them in time. Because what is happening when these kind of cases come, people start, speaking very badly, in pressure, the vehicle is sent, and then we end up compromising on a case which actually needs help, and then the condition of the animal has worsened, and worsened so badly that you can do nothing to save them. So I think we do really need to genuinely prioritize cases of serious cases of, animals with injuries, with health problems, instead of focusing on these little cases which people can also take care of.
Correct.
WSD, organizations like Welfare of Stray Dogs, very often they keep doing these first aid courses. People who feel for animals. You don't necessarily have to be a feeder. If you feel for animals, please enroll yourself. It happens on a Sunday. Get trained in basic first aid, which you can do. You can, of course, always consult a vet. We are not saying self-medicate or things like that, but basic things which do not require hospitalization, extensive medical care, those can be kind of taken care of by these people. That way, NGOs will be able to focus on the bigger issues that need addressing.
Correct.
Sterilization, vaccination, treatment of injured or sick animals, sending them to the hospital, that kind of stuff.
I think OPD largely is flooded, because even at Yoda largely is flooded with these cases where there are these basics. Like again, going back to the maggot rescue story that you're talking about, right? It's clearly the negligence of the community in that for that dog.
True.
Like you said, if we at Yoda have started providing this first aid kit for the feeders,
Right.
and it's very subsidized because we have that kind of relationship with the vendor. Unlike if you go and purchase it from a medical store, it will be like 2,000, 3,000 rupees. With us, it's half the cost.
True.
Right. So what we're trying to encourage is feeders to have it with them. And I think every society, one or two people should have. You see a small wound, just do the ointment, do the first aid, because then it eventually turns into a maggot if
Correct.
and then it becomes so bad that you have to admit. And so there are, and I think the numbers are very scary. We have about 40 dogs in IPD on average, and 25 of these are my rooms.
Wow.
So this is like a big negligence on
Yeah.
on our side as well. Uh, Again, to go back to the vaccination, sterilization, these are the proper solutions. I think people don't talk about the third solution much, which is the community awareness and community outreach,
Correct.
which also includes behavior trainings for the dogs that are aggressive.
Of course.
So what's your thought on this part?
I agree. As a community, if we don't understand behavior of dogs, we are going to get petrified even with a dog who's barking, but not barking at you, maybe barking at something else, which you're not even aware of. Maybe the dog smells something and the dog is just standing there and barking. He's not coming towards anybody, but oh no, we don't understand that. So the dog is aggressive. So I think, yes, training of people, having these kind of societies, cooperative housing societies should take the initiative to call certified canine behaviorists to, societies. Have a Sunday 1 hour session. It doesn't take too much time. Just give 1 hour. You have anyway your society meetings on Sunday. Extend it by an hour. Call a certified, canine behaviorist who can explain what is dog behavior. When you encounter a dog, what you should do. A lot of corporates are doing that now, and I really welcome and appreciate that move. But the need is for housing societies also to take that initiative.
And why can't it just be a part of your little maintenance fee? It will directly be anything.
Exactly. True. True.
And what do you have to say about the laws part of the whole problem? I know you joined hands with John back in, I think, 5-6 years ago when we were doing the Novo 50. I think that was
Yes, yes,
2017,
yes.
2016.
That was 3-4 years ago when we were on KBC,
Correct. Yeah.
speaking about the need for amendment of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Before I come to that, I think I should also address one major way of addressing this is through adoptions. A lot of people are only focused on pedigree breeds. They just want, a Labrador, a German Shepherd, a Saint Bernard, a Siberian Husky, a Poodle, and fancy breeds like that. Now, it's all very well to just complain, oh, India has so many community dogs or stray dogs or whatever, and the US doesn't. But look at the people in US, they go and adopt from shelters. What are we doing? So, it's time for little self-reflection for all of us who are really like, oh, they are cute. Yeah, but what? So what? Meaning just because indie dogs are not as cute in your opinion, they don't deserve that kind of, they don't deserve a home. They don't deserve to be a part of somebody's family. I think, which is so horrible. Meaning we are still so obsessed with, the Western world, but we are not really doing anything about what they do. Like try and implement things in toto, not selectively. So yeah, about the laws, like the animal birth control rules has been there since the year 2001.
Yeah.
And it was amended in the year 2023. The Supreme Court gave 6 judgments from the year 2015 to 2024. In all of these 6 judgments, reiterating, directing all states and union territories to have sterilization programs, to implement the ABC in letter and spirit. But then what happened? There's no accountability.
Because there's sanction for it, but
Correct. Yeah, there is amount. There's money which is sanctioned. Now the central government has taken a laudable step. They have allocated 100 crores, which they will be giving to municipalities who need that kind of financial support to be able to sterilize, vaccinate community dogs and cats. Central government is paying some 800 odd rupees per dog and 600 for cats. They're giving some grant for building ABC centers, for building hospitals, for building isolation wards for, suspected rabies cases. So I think it is the need of the hour, and I'm so glad that the central government has stepped in the sense that they are not just saying, okay, here are the rules that we have made, now follow them.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, here, we are giving you a helping hand as well. But I do think it, at the end of the day, the ball stops at the municipality and the state government, and they have to be pulled up. For instance, I do think it's a strong statement what I'm going to make, but I do feel that people, officers, have to be pulled up on charges of dereliction of duty by public servant. Only then there is going to be the fear of going to wanting to implement this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a kuttawala issue. This is not a kuttawala issue. This is so much about public health, about public safety. And officers who do not realize the seriousness, they should face the wrath of the law, because there is a provision under the BNS, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which is replaced by the IPC, which says that dereliction of duty by a public servant is an offense. So why should they not face criminal prosecution for failing to discharge their duty, because of which people are getting bitten? Some people are getting, rabies. So I think it is very much also our responsibility to demand action against such people who don't do their job.
True. I think it's time we should do that. In our hindsight, if I look back at this last 1 month, I think one, it's not good what the Supreme Court set out in terms of ye karo, wo karo. That was not a right precedent to set. It kind of leads to a massive failure as a system.
Yeah.
Right. But second thing that happened, which was good, is that now it's gaining traction. At least people are listening.
Correct.
To give you my personal opinion, I think we did this briefly. We reached out to governments and we started getting response in days' time.
True.
This would not happen before.
Yes. Yeah.
And we are seeing things in motion already.
Correct.
So one good thing out of all of this is at least now this topic is getting the traction with news.
True.
But what I don't want to kind of see happening much is the narrative that's being pushed around. And again, it's becoming a religious thing, it's becoming a right-left thing. But I know personally this is not a religious thing, it's not a party thing. It's a set of people who are pushing it forward. And it's across religion, it's across parties. Right? So what do you have to say about the media push and the narrative that's been going out? Currently, when I watch these, it's raging me. But what do you kind of,
I feel there are media houses who are doing a very responsible job. I don't deny that. But there are also media houses who only selectively show dogs attacking children or people, which concerns us all. And I'm not showing you do not show them. But then you selectively sensationalize your headline, your show around only those attacks, and you fail to show the cruelty that happens to those dogs. And very often, dogs are reactive because of what they have faced. And I'm not saying there are no unprovoked attacks that take place. They do, but they are very less in number. In fact, there is a very interesting report by the Economic Times, which says, very recent report, and you can see this on their Instagram, over 80% of human dog encounters are absolutely safe. So for the 20% or less than the 20% encounters which are a cause of concern, which are a cause of concern to us as well, we cannot, announce a death sentence for all of them. And it's not sustainable. It's not scientific. It's not sustainable. It's not practical. It's also not humane. We are a country which prouds ourselves of ahimsa, of karuna, and then we, decide to do something like this, which is a matter of great shame.
Yeah.
So I do feel that, and I'm so glad, I'm so grateful to the 3-judge bench of the Honorable Supreme Court, led by Honorable Justice Shri Vikram Nath, who decided to essentially, overturn the earlier judgment in terms that not all dogs will be locked up. Only dogs that are, rabid, who have or showing signs of rabies, or who have documented history of biting, only those are going to be kept in shelters. So I think that is the fine balance you strike. There's no full right or full wrong, or full right or full left. You have to strike a balance on things. And I think that's what the 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court has done. And even about feeding, the Supreme Court did recognize the role of feeders and said municipal corporations should immediately forthwith designate feeding spots. And that will be based on the population of dogs, which means the territory of dogs. So even that is something which is such a welcome move, because all the time people keep fighting with people who feed animals, saying, oh, the animals are there because you feed them. No, animals are there because they're territorial in nature. They are going to be there even if you cut out the food plot. And they will get aggressive if you stop feeding them. So I think people need to also realize that the feeders, the community animal caregivers, are doing a great service to our society by making these dogs friendly, by humanizing them, so that they can be caught for animal birth control, they can be caught for animal vaccinations. Otherwise, how are you going to catch them?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Feeders are a great resource.
Exactly. We need to make them a good, weapon to use to cut down the population of dogs instead of antagonizing them, instead of, uh, harassing feeders, dragging them to the police station. All of that, I feel, is only going to be in such bad taste and not really help the cause, really.
It's so nicely put it. I think I was going to ask you about incentivizing feeders and what do you think. And I'm not talking about it monetarily, but to leave them stress free, to give them provisions in the law to do what they want to do. I think they are doing great help. Like today, if I have to give you quantum of numbers that we do about 300 to 350 dogs from Malad, right? ABC wise. And I get 250, 300 caught by the feeders. If I didn't work with these feeders, my numbers will go down by half.
Exactly.
So you go catching in random areas. I go with an aim to do 20 catching and I just bring 10 dogs because you never meet numbers otherwise.
Yeah.
So there's so much that they do. And like you rightly said, if they stop feeding today, your area will go mad.
I'll give you a simple example of what happened in Mumbai without naming anybody. The BMC council in the Supreme Court, when the stray dog matter was ongoing, used to shout at the top of his voice, and literally, I'm not exaggerating, asking the court to give permission to kill dogs. And this had upset feeders because, of course, it was being reported in the press. The feeders stopped cooperating with the BMC, thinking that the BMC would kill these dogs because that's what the BMC council was saying in Supreme Court. And then I was called upon by a person and I was told, how can you help resolve this problem? I said, you have to withdraw your stand in the Supreme Court, constantly screaming and shouting at the top of your voice, asking for killing, because that is the message that is going to feed us, that you want to kill these dogs. And they realized and they said, oh, we are willing to pay them, 600 per dog. I said, they don't want your money. These feeders are people who work in people's houses, who do odd jobs, who work basically, kind of daily wage, or, with meager money. They are kind of feeding these dogs, trying to do what they can, out of their love and compassion for them. They don't need your money. All they need is an assurance that the animal is going to be well looked after. And once the BMC did that, all the feeders, the BMC withdrew its position in Supreme Court formally. They stopped asking for culling permission to cull dogs. And here we were with army of feeders who were willing to support the BMC, catching dogs and keeping dogs overnight in their house. Because certain dogs, you'll find them only in the night, only in the evening. That time the BMC vehicle is not going to come. They'll come only during the daytime.
Yeah.
So the feeders I have personally seen have caught dogs in the night, kept them, and then held them with them, which is so difficult to, to keep a community dog who's, used to their freedom locked up in a house. It's so difficult to manage them. Feeders are doing that. Why? Because even they don't want more dogs. It's more mouths to feed. It's not something that any feeder desires. Oh, it's very cute to look at puppies, but nobody wants them really, because nobody definitely wants them on the street. So, yeah.
No, I totally get it. And I've seen the kind of, follow-ups and the kind of consistency and dedication these feeders have to, they push us, and I'm happy that they do push us to do ABCs.
Right.
We also have our limitations. We can only do certain areas, and there's no point doing random areas. So then you will only do ABC and not see impact. Sure. So we are also very disciplined in how we do ABC, but I see the constant passion and push coming from the feeders saying, "Mera pehle kar do, mera pehle kar do."
Correct. Correct.
And that is what the government and the authorities should kind of, give more power to. Also, just quickly want to take you to this segment where I want your views on. So again, for everything that we were saying, right, one or two instances, the media is trying to push. My people and my
Are we shooting this or?
yeah, this is getting short. Your reaction is getting short. This will come separately. What people are saying is that dogs, kids are under attack and dogs are creating menace. I think the argument is you have one video, we will have 100 videos of any humans causing cruelty. This is one attack,
Right.
fair attack, I get it.
Man peeing into football. Oh my God, that is disgusting.
That's a dog football.
Where is this video from?
That's a sword, not a stick.
Oh my God. This person should be booked under the Arms Act. It is illegal to be in possession of sword. Yeah, I've seen these videos. Yeah.
Any problem. True. poisoned, acid throw. So yes. So again, if you show me one video, I get it. I know that dog we need to obviously rehab, fix them through neutering, do something about those dogs. But if you get one such video, I will show you hundreds of videos where humans are inhuman.
I agree. I agree. One day, people won't stop at animals. Let me, say that to you very clearly because there's a clear and an interconnected link between people who commit acts of crimes against animals and those who are violent towards humans.
Yeah.
People who abuse animals are 3 times more likely to commit an act of violence against a fellow human. And it always starts with animals, is what research in criminology says. It's not something that we as animal NGOs have said. It's pure research in criminology, which says that these people will not stop at animals. Animals are easy targets, they're easy practice. So they are the first victims, so to say. And then the courage, the efforts embolden when they don't see any action being taken, no deterrent. So then that goes on to children, women, the elderly, those who cannot defend themselves, those who are in that sense weaker physically to be able to defend themselves against the abuser. So such people are a risk to society at large. Can you think of this mentality of this person who was seen hurling a sword at dogs? You think he's going to stop at dogs? Like the kind of frustration this person has and the kind of shit that is there in his head, he needs help.
Yeah.
He's screaming that he needs help. And if as a society we, limit this or ridicule this by saying, oh, it's just a dog issue, it was only because he was angry with the dogs. No, it's not about the dogs. It's about this person having no self control, no control over his emotions, his anger, his frustration. Tomorrow, if a child irritates him or, annoys him, the response might be similar, and it should alarm us all when we see something like this person peeing in the food bowl of the dog or of the cats. Like, what kind of a person you have to be, what kind of depraved mentality you must have.
True. And also, okay, what kind of society are we kind of making ourselves into? At one point, at one side, you're saying Vishwaguru Banenge, and this is what you're instilling into people. So yeah, again, large topic. What do you have to talk about? What do you have to say to people about who are again? So I remember, sorry, let me set the context here. I saw this whole clip about Anand Ranganathan saying, you are depriving animals of their birthright by sterilizing.
He replied to me and he asked me on CNN
He was talking
18.
there.
Yeah, he asked me if I was okay with genital mutilation of a female. And I was like, you have lost it. To ask a question like this, you have had to completely lost your mind. Because animals are not capable of giving consent, and neither are they capable of understanding and knowing how much to reproduce, when to reproduce, whether to reproduce or not. And if we are complaining about the dog population, then that's the only way to control it. And it's not us saying this, it is the World Health Organization in 1990 who said this is the scientific solution. And it's done humanely under anesthesia. How can you call it female genital mutilation? Meaning it's something I don't think honestly even deserves a response. But since you brought it up, I think it's very important to sterilize animals because they can't use contraception. They don't understand hum do, hamare do, and which is precisely why sterilization is the only, and it's in their interest. It's in the interest of the dogs also. Because if they are not sterilized, can you imagine the number of puppies and dogs on the street and fighting with each other, competing for food, being run over by vehicles, being hit by people, hot water being thrown on them. stones being hurled on them. So that's no life, really.
Yeah. What was scary is during the entire 11, 12, 13, 3, 4 days right after the judgment was the way everything was curated by certain media house. It replicated. And I watched that podcast because I look up to what you say. And that matters because there's so much noise in our side of the world also, right?
True.
So when this conversation started, very smartly, they kind of put together a narrative first,
Yeah.
softly putting the thought that, yeah, it's good by bringing in Anand Ranganathan as the first talker and praising him upfront, saying, "Oh, I like your perspective." And then he starts by saying, "Itne 1 in 15 dog bites. Where do you get that number from?"
Correct. Correct.
Second is, let's say even if there's a dog bite, there's a category A to category 3.
Yes. Yeah.
What category are you referring to?
Yeah.
How many of those dog bites? How many of those dog bites are by the dogs that are not pets?
Correct.
There's so much mapped to it. Okay? And then when we do come down to this problem, then I have another argument to you. Then snake bites.
Yeah.
Number of people die out of snake bites. What will you confine every snake? Then where will we stop?
Totally not, right?
And then you eventually go down to a level where you bring scarcity into the gender, the species, and then you say tiger bachao.
Yeah. Yeah.
जब सही टाइम में ध्यान रखा होता तो आज वो नहीं करना पड़ता. So I again your thoughts on this.
So yeah, I feel meaning, these kind of things being discussed, and I feel the issue is being trivialized. With such people saying such things, they are not taking this issue seriously. They're trivializing it, and they are making it all about some, some nonsensical thing, which honestly probably they also don't believe, but they just want to say something. So then say something for the heck of it.
Yeah.
And I feel, yes, the issue of bites is something which I've been time and again trying to address. Like so many other people have been making videos on this and being saying this out loud. The government has accepted it themselves in a letter that they wrote last year to the Secretary of Health of all states, saying that they need to maintain separate data for bites caused by community dogs, for bites caused by pet dogs, for bites caused by other animals, and also that they should not be counting the 5 shots of rabies as 5 separate bites,
Right.
which is what is happening. And if you see the statistics that has been put out by Ernakulam municipality, now some 2, 3 other municipalities have done a statistical survey on this, where I would say 60 to 70% of bites are due to pet dogs. And it's again not the pet dogs to blame, it's the pet parents to blame, or the guardians of these companion dogs to blame, who have not, raised them well, who have not trained them well, and who are not giving them the necessary exercise, the mental and physical stimulation that is required of dogs. We have got large breed dogs, we don't exercise them, we don't give them the kind of mental and physical stimulation they need to exert their energy, and then it comes out in these ways.
Yeah.
So I think bites are something which are very, very conveniently just all pinned on our community or indie or stray dogs, and it's not fair because it's not correct, it's statistically not right. And like I said, the Economic Times survey, the article which they have put out on Instagram, is clear that over 80% of human dog encounters are good, are not bad, are not ugly, are not traumatizing, are not something where a human is affected. So, and I think that is what we need to build further on to make, dog friendly, to humanize them. And I think the least people can do is kind of contribute to the problem solving than becoming a part of the problem by buying dogs,
True.
by abandoning dogs. Don't get a dog home if you cannot commit to that dog for the rest of, his or her life, which is going to be a good 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like bringing a child, into existence.
Yeah.
And I have heard people call and say, oh, well, now we are having a baby, so we need to get rid of this dog. Like, this is the language. So, and I feel it reflects our collective conscience as a society when we do that to animals. Today, you're doing this to animals. What is the guarantee tomorrow you will not do it to your own child or to your parents because they've become too much of a burden now, So I think that mentality is something which needs serious addressing. I'm not saying everybody should take responsibility, but if you are one who wants to get a dog, then be responsible for him or her. Don't dump them on shelters. You expect NGOs to get indie dogs adopted. You also expect NGOs to take in these dogs which are, abandoned by these owners who are irresponsible. And then you just keep expecting NGOs to have a magical wand to just make all these dogs go into lovely homes,
Yeah.
which is not possible.
Just briefly, there was a conversation I had when I was in Delhi. I'm okay to take the name, it's a good thing. So, you know Gauri, right? Yeah, so I spoke to her and I said, how far are we up from doing what New Zealand did? She said 20, 30 years behind. You know what New Zealand did, right? Like abandonment became punishable. This is what New Zealand did, right? First thing, they made breeding, like international breed, a taxable thing, right? So it wouldn't be a one-time fee. It will be year on year you pay tax if you had a dog imported from outside to the country, right? They made breeding very legal and very systematic. And then third thing they did was abandonment became punishable through microchipping. You could say it back to the owner. Correct. Right? When you did that, people ran out of pets in 6-7 years and they started adopting from the streets.
True.
And in about 15 years, they are now stray free.
Correct.
Right now, how do we bring the similar model in a country like that?
Similar thing happened in Holland or rather in Netherlands as a country. They did the same thing. They heavily taxed buying dogs in certain areas which were high density or high problem areas. Uh, to altogether prohibited the breeding and pet shops in those areas, completely made it illegal. So anybody who really wanted to have a dog had to go to a shelter and adopt, or had to adopt out from the street. And that is how. So imagine 10 lakh people having pets. It's a ridiculously low number that I'm citing, but just for example, 10 lakhs who have pets. If these 10 lakh people have adopted, can you imagine 10 lakh dogs off the street? Right. So it people think, oh, एक कुत्ता adopt होने से क्या होगा? But एक की तो बात नहीं है ना. It's about lakhs of people who have. It's not 1 to 10 people who have pets. Yeah. There are lakhs, probably crores of people, if we are talking about pan India, who have companion animals at home. And if they chose to adopt instead of buying from, a pet store or from a breeder, I think we would have solved half of the problem.
Yeah.
With much, much fewer dogs on the streets. Bhutan has done it, our neighbor.
Yeah.
Our neighbor Bhutan has become stray dog friendly. In fact, I was just looking at Instagram when we took that break, and the king of Bhutan has told the people that for my birthday, adopt a stray dog as a gift to me. So, that's the kind of push we need for adoptions. Like, yes, in UP, certain municipalities have made it free. For example, it's mandatory to have pet dog license. They made it free. You don't have to pay a fees if you are adopting a stray or an indie. And also the vaccination, animal vaccination will be free. The government will do it. So a lot of people are being that way encouraged, but this is a passive or a silent promotion. You need active campaigns where ministers, where people in power, where influencers, everybody starts pushing this out, starts talking about this, how important this is, what kind of an impact it can have. And I think there we could do so much more as society to push for adoption of our own indies.
Yeah.
We talk about Make in India, you know, uh, go local, go desi, right? And these are our desi indie dogs, and we do need to go local and desi for them as well.
Yeah, totally. I'm so happy we could touch upon all the topics. Just again, I was going to talk about the Lucknow model, but you already brought it now. But yes, would you want to summarize the whole Lucknow model that we are talking about recently?
So Lucknow, Dehradun,
Yeah.
Jaipur, all these places are, what we need to look up to. Even for that matter, Mumbai, Delhi, everybody needs to look up to them, learn from them that how in a quick span of 5 years, 6 years, they have brought down the dog population so drastically.
And ethically.
And ethically with only one thing, aggressive animal birth control.
Yeah.
And female centric. First do 70% of female. Then you go towards males. Right now, what is happening? Any random catching is being done. Jo aaya usko karo. Then you will not be able to scientifically address the problem. If you do females first, you're stopping that cycle, that chain where the female gets pregnant and delivers pups. If you do the females, if she's not getting pregnant, you have at least for the time being control that population there from increasing.
Yeah.
Then you do the males also so that they also don't have temperamental issues, etc. when they go on heat. Not saying it's not important to do the males, but like the WHO has said, like the Animal Welfare Board of India has said, 70% females need to be done first, and it needs to be aggressive animal birth control, not where you have a center with pittance 20 kennels where you're having just 20 capacity of 20 for 1 week, which is minuscule, which is nothing. To see that impact is going to take decades.
20 capacity means 15 max.
Exactly.
That extended rules. Yeah, answered ones also. But yeah, I think there is a lot to be said about our own community also. Here, the definition of welfare is also very subjective. How I see welfare and how certain people in Delhi or north of India, why is it that people are hoarding animals in shelters? Shelter is not about hoarding.
Yeah.
You have a rescue, rehab, and release. Only then as a company policy.
Correct.
The release has 3 forms. One is adoption, second is put them back into their own area, and third is euthanasia.
Correct.
You can't be just keeping the animal. We are not doing the release part at the welfare side, and that's where our community needs to be more aware and more educated. But largely, I think this
I
comes.
think one last point I would like to make, since you brought up euthanasia, it's so important. Euthanasia is looked down upon. It's considered to be like a horrible thing to do. And people who get animals euthanized are called killers and evils and things like that. And I think euthanasia, in extreme cases where it is required, in the opinion of a veterinarian,
Yeah.
is the most humane and it's the right thing to do. Because otherwise, you're leaving the animal suffering, one, either because of your attachment, or second, because of your own uh, beliefs.
You don't want to take it on your.
Which has no space for the animal, which has no, this thing for the animal. Did you ask the animal before rescuing? No. So then how can you, selectively say, oh, how we can ask a vet to euthanize?
Yes.
And the animal, if the animal is suffering, if there is no cure, or if the quality of life is going to be severely compromised, then euthanasia is the right thing to do. Euthanasia translates to good death. It's a Greek term which literally means good death. So अगर आप किसी को अच्छी मृत्यु दे रहे हैं, अगर वो उस हालत में है, तो वो सही चीज है करने के लिए. I would rather, tell people or advise them to reflect on their thoughts. If you cannot take this difficult decision when the time comes, perhaps you should not be rescuing, because then what you're doing is more damage than any good, making these animals suffer for elongated periods. We have had cases where I've seen cancer dogs on the street, and the people are telling us, we are treating this dog. You tell me, or ask any veterinarian, can a dog with cancer be treated on the street?
No.
But that's the why? Because we are attached to this dog. We have been taking care of this dog for so many years.
But then that's very selfish also. I was
Exactly.
before you talking to one of my previous guests where this did break down euthanasia. My first encounter with the concept of euthanasia, where I had to practically decide on it, was back in 2022 when my own pet was going through CKD and her creat was 15 in the first blood report and went up to 21. And I was just praying to God, okay, please take her or heal her. Like, don't give it to me to decide. But then the night when we made up our mind and we said we put up, because 21 CKD, 21 creat is like horrible. And 12 days of IVs and no food inside her body, she was just draining. I said, let's do it. Next day morning, she passed on her own. I thank God for doing that. But that's when I decided, okay, this is needed, because I've seen her struggle. I would wish that nobody goes through. True. Even my enemy doesn't have that death like that.
Yeah.
So when we really have to put our foot down and say, okay, no, we can't solve this problem. Like recently, one cat came to us very bad state. Orthos, we do take up whatever it takes. I know it's financially very draining, but that's what we have good support around, and we have people come together. So difficult ortho case also we do take up and we try to heal. But this one, a pelvic bone fracture, and one of the most senior vets in Mumbai, who's, you probably know the name, told us, not, but even I can't do anything with this. I said, let's do it, and we did it. But we had to, because just to be that egoistic, no, we've solved our call.
We have to make difficult decisions in life, and that's the reality of life. We cannot run away from it.
True. So I want to now come to the last segment. This is the sponsor, but not in a financial way. I work with this brand called Pets of Paradise.
Uh-huh.
They do cat foods and a lot of brilliant cat products. basically pet products, and they're also building community along the way. They're not just using the customers as a base to sell. They're creating awareness. They have behaviorists. They have vets. There is a WhatsApp group. They do a lot more, and every product that we sell through Yoda for them, they give us a cut on it, and everything that we sell obviously helps the animals that we are rescuing. What I also like about these founders is that, there are 20, 30 pet brands that are doing well in the country. I generally feel that these guys are not about money and growth. They're more about welfare and then growth. So that's why the hamper is from Pets of Paradise.
Thank you. How sweet. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
So again, summarizing it with the thought that there's a lot to take away from this episode for all of us, not just the people who are into the animal welfare, but the media houses, the governments, the authorities, and the people who are not into the cause as well. So thank you, Meet, for coming and spending time with us. It was an honor to have you.
It was lovely. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to me.